guys, it's Sunny, and today I am doing a video, my how-to video actually, of how to make my top secret Baby Alive food mixture, which comes in a powdered form like this. And I know that there have been a lot of people on YouTube looking for a recipe to make colored powder, since it's likely that they're going to discontinue Baby Alive food. And I have come up with a way to make the powder and turn it into the baby food using some common household products. And it's actually not a top secret, but I've just come up with a way to use it to make Baby Alive food. So we're going to get started, and first I'm going to tell you what you're going to need. You're going to need cornstarch. It can be any brand of cornstarch that you find in the store. This was just like $1 a box at Walmart. Really cheap, and you get a whole box of it. Then you're going to need some plastic gloves, and this is to protect your hands when you're using the coloring to make the powder. You're going to need a plastic spoon for the coloring, to put the coloring in there. You're going to need a measuring cup for the cornstarch and for the water that you're going to add. You're going to need a food coloring. Now, I prefer the Wilton food coloring, the icing color. I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me see. This I found at my local Walmart, and I prefer this one because you get darker colors, and it seems to make the colors more vibrant. You're also going to need a container to mix this in, and of course you're going to need water, and I have a bowl of water back here. So let's get started. Okay, first we're going to put on our plastic gloves. I just got these. We've had these around the house for various reasons, sometimes to deal with animal stuff or to put on first aid stuff. So I have these on, and then we're just going to have our bowl over here to the side because we're going to first measure our cornstarch. Now what I have here is a 1/2 cup, just because I didn't have a 1/4 cup. But if you look in here, there is a 1/4 cup measurement, but we're going to fill this 1/2 cup up with cornstarch. And probably the easiest way, instead of dumping it, is probably going to be spooning it into the cup, just so we don't make a huge mess and get it everywhere. So I'm going to do that now. And it doesn't have to be exact, but we want it pretty close to a 1/2 cup. You can see it's already everywhere, but that's okay. And we're going to dump that into our container here. See, when we dump it, how there's a lot of smoke. So you want to try not to inhale that smoke. And try and get out as much as you can out of the cup. Okay, now the next part is we're going to add a 1/4 cup. And I just have a bowl over here next to me with water in it that I'm just going to use. And then I'll dump out when I'm done. But there you can see I just used a 1/4 cup. It's just right there. I'm going to pour that into this mixture, and then I'm going to use my hand and start mixing. Now what's going to happen when you do that is this is going to get extremely hard, almost like, kind of like a really, really thick paste. Some places are even going to be even harder than that. But if you just keep moving it into the water, what will happen is it'll eventually all soak up the water, and it'll be a little bit easier to move around. So we're just going to keep doing that. And this right here, this consistency for me is a little too watery, so I'm going to add just a little bit more cornstarch to this. Sometimes that happens if you add just a little bit, if your measurements are just a little bit off, and I am going to dump just a little bit. The thing about this recipe is that sometimes if you make a mistake, with the measurements, you can just keep adding water or cornstarch. Whoops. You can add water or cornstarch to keep it going. But you just want to basically, so like what I'm seeing here, or what I'm showing you here, you just kind of got to go slowly and carefully, making sure that you're mixing in all the water parts. And it's really a strange mixture. I can't even, it's kind of hard to describe. Whoops. Because part of it's crumbly, but when you put it in your hand, it turns into liquid. And so that's the consistency we're looking for. is we're looking for something that when we put it in our hand, it turns into liquid, but when we try to scrape it off the bottom, and you've got to be careful, I just slung some across. You've got to be careful, but basically it'll look like this. It looks really watery, but when I touch it, you see how it cracks? So that's what we want. That's the consistency we want. Now we want to add coloring. Okay, now we have our coloring. It looks like this. It's like a paste or a gel. And I'm using the back end of a spoon. Remember not to get it on your clothes or anything like that. And I take a pretty generous amount and put it into this mixture. Now you're not going to be able to mix this with a spoon. As you can see here, when I'm trying to move it, all that happens, whoops, sorry, you can't see that. All that happens is it breaks up and cracks. So you're going to actually have to make this coloring mixed in with your hands, which is why we have the gloves. And you can see it's very messy, so you don't want to get it on anything at all, and you don't want to especially get it on your clothes. And if you are working in your mom's kitchen, be especially mindful of that as well, that you don't get it all over her special countertops. You might want to put some newspaper down or some, I don't know, plastic wrap or something down on the counter just to make sure. And also be really careful when you're mixing, like before when I was flinging the little chunks out. You want to make sure that you're not flinging those chunks out when you're mixing the color in. So I'm going to go ahead and just mix. And you'll see the end result in just a second here. Okay, real quick now, I have it all mixed, the color mixed into the color that I want. If you wanted it darker or lighter, you could add more at this point. Now I'm going to remove these gloves very carefully here in just a second, and I'm going to let this harden, and we'll come back after it's hardened. Now, hardening can take sometimes 24 or 48 hours or even longer. So just keep that in mind that I will show you what the consistency you're looking for, but generally it's going to take you at least 24 hours to dry this the way you want it to dry. Okay guys, so this has been a little bit more than 24 hours, and I did break up some of it just to see if it was ready or not. But what you're looking for basically, if you can see right here, is you're looking for it to dry and crack, and that's how you should know that it's just about ready or that it's already ready. And so then what you'll want to do is take a fork. Let me see if I can put it down here and show you what I did. Was basically just break this up. Do it very gently because you don't want this flying all over the place. And then you can take your fork and press down on it and mash it. Or if you have your parents' help or your parents are wanting to make this with you, they can also take a small food processor and run it through a food processor at this point to get a more finer powder. I found that it doesn't really matter if it's this size of a chunk or if it's finer, because when you wet it, it goes right back to the liquid form anyway. And something I didn't show you in my video yesterday, my feeding video that I did, is that you can also use this as a juice mix if you want to make a colored juice. And so if you wanted to make a juice, you could put some of this in here. I'm sorry, this is not going to be super neat just because I'm doing this without a funnel. Here we go.
It's starting to look like juice.
Yeah, isn't it? I think it looks pretty good. Let's shake it up and just show you what it looks like. That's Lola, by the way. She's still hanging out here with me. And see,
like lemonade.
A little bit like lemonade. And if you put a little bit of orange food coloring in there, or if you added with your flour mixture, if you put in a little dot of red or something like that, you can make it look more like orange juice. And you could use, you know, any colors. If you use the green color that we had in yesterday's video, this color here, you could say it's limeade or lime, not limeade. Like, I don't, you know, like a green lemonade. I don't know. You can be creative and do whatever you want. So that's the recipe. Now, I want to give you guys some disclaimers here real quick. First of all, I know I was calling it my top secret recipe, but it's not really my original recipe. Actually, what this is, just so you know, is this is the kind of powder that they use on the color runs or the color dust that they throw at people in some videos. And I actually got the recipe that way. I have looked it up online and couldn't find anybody using it for Baby Alive food. The other thing I want to tell you is that just keep in mind that we used food coloring, and just like with any food coloring, this can stain, and you can ask Lola here.
My hands have been yellow for a week.
And actually my hands look pretty good right now, but I'm just now getting past a couple of days worth of from the green powder over there where I got it all over my hands. If you do this recipe, make sure that this powder is dried completely. You want to make sure that it's completely powder again. You don't want it to be wet at all. You want it to be completely dry. Now, if you live in not a community, but if you live in a place where there's more humidity, or if you have more moisture in your air, you're going to have a lot longer drying time. And if you look up a recipe like this for the color run color dust online, they can tell you other techniques on how to dry it a little bit better than just letting it sit overnight like I did. Another tip that I want to give you about this powder, if you're going to use it for food packets, do not mix it with flour, okay? Flour has moisture in it, and it will cause this powder to mold, and you don't want that. That especially, you don't want to get that in your doll, and you don't want to be carrying around packets with mold in it, obviously, right? Well,
it's just nasty.
Yeah.
It's downright nasty.
So don't put flour in it, and don't get any moisture into the powder. So if you store this powder in a cool, dry place somewhere that it's not going to get any moisture, preferably like in an airtight container, and you shouldn't have any trouble with mold. But if you start to see little colored spots, you'll want to obviously throw it away and make a new batch. If you want to make this green color, I have learned that you want to start with more yellow. So you want to make the base of it yellow, and then just start adding a little green at a time until you get the hue that you want. And that's how I got this color. I actually made another batch of this about a week ago, I think. Mm-hmm. I'm going to show you. You can see what happens when you start with green instead of starting with yellow. Let's see.
This is like an Easter green.
Yeah, and so what happens if you start with green instead of yellow, you end up with more green even after you add yellow and add yellow. If you start with yellow and add a little green, then you get this color. So there's another tip. If you liked this recipe, please let us know in the comments below. And if you try it, and especially if you make videos, link back to us. Put a copy of our link to this video on your video so we know that you've tried it, and so we can kind of see who's having success with it.
And share it with your friends too. So if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Oh, my thumb is like all over.
There I am.
If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button below, and stay tuned for some more awesome videos.
Yeah, and maybe some more Baby Alive videos. Just put your requests in the comments below.
As long as there's no dirty diapers.
Oh, there'll be plenty of dirty diapers.
You can do that. You can take care of that.
Well, that's it, guys. See ya.